The first time I knew that every arrow I shot made me stronger, the first time I realized that every arrow I loosed could make me stronger. I was on a hunting mission that nearly cost me my life. That day, I was clutching a badly worn compound bow, hiding on the second floor of an abandoned warehouse. Below me were 3 mutant beasts. Not movie monsters, real, man-killing things. They had been twisted by urban pollution, moving several times faster than ordinary animals, making them nearly impossible for standard firearms to hit. And I was just a nobody who took on dangerous jobs to make a living. No background, no high-end gear, no gift for combat. The only thing I had was my archery. Xinyi, are you coming down or not? Han Lai's low voice crackled in my earpiece. Those 3 things down there already know where you are. If you keep stalling, they'll bring the stairs down on you. I stared at the shifting shadows below and slowly drew the bowstring. I know. You know. And you're still not running? Han Lai's tone was clearly anxious. I didn't answer, because I knew that if I ran now, both he and I would die. Failing this mission wasn't just about losing the pay. There were more than a dozen trapped workers in the warehouse. They couldn't wait for another rescue team. I glanced at the arrow in my hand. The tip was already deformed. It was my last specialty arrow. People used to say I was a decent shot. But what good was decent? In the face of true danger, an ordinary person with good aim just dies a little later than everyone else. Right then, a cold voice suddenly sounded in my mind. Asterisk host detected in life or death crisis. Asterisk asterisk infinite arrow experience ability bound. Asterisk asterisk each arrow fired grants 1 experience point. Asterisk the voice came out of nowhere. I froze. What the hell was that? I even wondered if I was hallucinating from stress. But the next second, a line of information appeared in my head. Name asterisk Xinyi ability asterisk infinite arrow experience rule asterisk each arrow that hits a target grants experience and improves skill. Limit asterisk none. My breath caught. No limit? Those 3 words made my heart slam against my ribs. But there was no time to study it. The largest mutant beast below suddenly looked up. It had spotted me. The next moment, it charged straight for the staircase. Xinyi! Han Lai shouted. I didn't retreat. Instead, I slowly raised my bow. Back when I was training, my coach told me, a true archer doesn't win by strength, he wins by judgment. Wind speed, distance, target trajectory. All of that decides the fate of an arrow. I closed one eye, locked on, released. The arrow left the string. The next instant, it pierced the mutant beast's eye. Its massive body crashed down. The voice returned. Asterisk target hit. Asterisk asterisk experience gained. Asterisk asterisk 1 experience point credited. Asterisk a strange sensation flooded my body. Not a burst of raw power, but a sudden clarity in my understanding of archery. Distances I used to calculate in seconds now came almost instantly. Wind shifts, target speed, optimal firing angles. All of it burned into my mind like instinct. I looked down at my hands. This wasn't an illusion. My archery had really improved. What are you spacing out for? Han Lai rushed up and grabbed my arm. There are still 2 left. I snapped back to reality and looked at the other 2 mutant beasts. Before today, I would have thought only of running. But now, for the first time, I felt something different. They weren't so frightening anymore, because my arrows could keep growing stronger. I knocked another arrow. First shot, hit. Second shot, hit. 2 thuds in succession. The warehouse fell silent. Han Lai stood beside me, staring as if he were looking at a stranger. Xinyi. Yeah? When did you get this good? I lowered my bow. Maybe I got lucky. Han Lai squinted at me. You think I'd buy that? I smiled and didn't explain. This secret wasn't something I could tell anyone, not yet. Because I didn't know what this ability really meant. If others found out that every arrow I shot made me stronger, with no upper limit, how would the people at the top react? The next day, we returned to the mission base. It was a gathering place for people who took on high-risk jobs. Some relied on brute force, some on tech gear, some on special abilities, but most were just ordinary fighters. And before this, I had been the most invisible person there. No one paid attention. No one remembered me. Many even said that someone like me, who only knew how to shoot arrows, wouldn't survive long. As soon as I walked into the main hall, a man blocked my way. Qin Haoren, the base's famous prodigy archer. He looked at my bow and let out a chuckle. Heard you took down 3 mutant beasts yesterday? I nodded. Problem? Of course there's a problem. He stepped closer. You never even ranked high in training before. And suddenly you complete a high difficulty mission. What do you think people will say? I met his gaze. What others say has nothing to do with me. Qin Haoren blinked, clearly taken aback. In the past, I would have instinctively backed down in front of a genius like him, but not now, because I knew my future wasn't for anyone else to define. He narrowed his eyes. Xinyi, you've changed a lot. People change. Hope your skills are as tough as your mouth. He turned and walked away. Han Lai came up beside me. Why did you provoke him? I didn't provoke anyone. That tone you used, that was provoking. I smiled. If someone feels provoked just because I speak normally, that's their problem, not mine. Han Lai stared at me, then suddenly laughed. Well, the old Xinyi who kept his head down, he's back. But also not back. I didn't reply, because my attention was on the ability interface in my mind. Experience points, still a tiny amount, but it told me one thing: my journey had only just begun. That night, I went alone to the training ground. No one was there. I picked up my bow, aimed at the targets in the distance, and fired. First arrow. Hit. Experience gained. Second arrow. Hit. Third. Fourth. Fifth. I lost count of how many arrows I shot. My arms ached. My shoulders went numb. But with every release, I could feel myself improving. Skills that would take others years, even decades, to hone. I was acquiring bit by bit. No bottlenecks. No ceiling. By midnight, I stood amid a litter of arrows and felt, for the first time, that fate was finally on my side. For more than 20 years, I had believed I was just ordinary birth, ordinary talent, ordinary life. But now, I had a path that could change everything, not by luck, not by charity, but by the bow in my hands. The next morning, the base released a new mission. Enter the danger zone and locate a missing research team. Mission rank, extremely high. Many people in the hall fell silent when they saw it. That zone was notorious. Almost no one who went in ever came back. Han Lai looked at the notice. Xinyi, don't take this one. I turned to him. Why? Because it's not like yesterday, he said seriously. There might be higher level mutants inside. I paused, then picked up my bow. Precisely because it's dangerous. I have to go. Han Lai frowned. Are you crazy? I shook my head. No. I want to know how far I can really go. In that moment, I finally understood. Infinite experience wasn't just giving me the chance to grow stronger. It was a challenge that would reshape my life. And my first real test was about to begin. Before entering the danger zone, I had thought that high-level missions were simply more perilous than regular ones. Once I actually stepped inside, I realized the danger zone was a world apart. No rules, no rescue, no second chances just because you weren't strong enough. The assembly point was at the city's edge. When I arrived, Han Lai was already there. He was better equipped this time, protective suit, sidearm melee weapon. When he saw me with my bow, he frowned. You're really set on this? I nodded. Set. He studied me for a long moment. Xinyi, I know you've gotten stronger lately, but this isn't a test. Once we go in, if we run into something we can't handle, no one will go easy on you because you're new. I looked at the cordon in the distance. I know. Then why are you still going? I gripped my bow tighter. Because if I'm always afraid of danger, then no matter how strong I get, it's meaningless. Han Lai didn't try to talk me out of it again. He had known me for years. Once I made a decision, I didn't change easily. Inside the zone, we formed a team of 5, me, Han Lai, and 3 experienced fighters. The leader was Qingyi, a man in his 30s. He was quiet but sharp-eyed. The first time he saw me, he noticed my bow. You're ranged? I nodded. Mainly shooting. Qingyi studied me for 2 seconds. Your file says you were just an ordinary marksman. Yes. Then how did you pass the screening for this mission? I didn't explain, because I didn't know how to. I couldn't exactly tell him that I'd shot a few hundred arrows last night and suddenly gotten better. He didn't press further. Only said, once we're inside, whatever secrets you have, don't let them hurt the team. If you pull your weight, you're welcome. If you become dead weight, I'll cut you loose immediately. His words were blunt, but I didn't mind. People who truly faced death didn't waste breath on pleasantries. 3 hours in, we found our first anomaly, enormous claw marks on the ground. Han Lai crouched to inspect them. Not ordinary mutants. Cheng Ye's expression darkened. From the tracks, At least intermediate grade. The team went silent. Intermediate grade meant a whole new level of danger. Ordinary mutants relied on brute physical enhancement, but intermediate mutants already had near-human reasoning. They could ambush, target weak points, use the environment. Just then, a chill ran down my spine. Years of training screamed at me to turn. Without a moment's hesitation, I drew and released. Arrow in flight. Behind a broken tree, a roar erupted. A massive black creature burst out. My arrow struck its shoulder, but didn't stop it. It only paused for an instant, then lunged at us even more furiously. Spread out, Chengyi shouted. The team scattered. I knocked another arrow, and in that moment, I realized my judgment speed was already faster than yesterday. Target trajectory, attack path, vital spots, all laid out clearly. Second arrow, hit the abdomen. Third, leg. Fourth, near the heart. After the successive hits, the beast finally collapsed. The familiar voice echoed in my mind. Asterisk target hit. Asterisk asterisk experience gained. Asterisk asterisk archery proficiency increased. Asterisk I felt another restriction in my body give way. Before, I could only shoot accurately. Now, I could even anticipate the target's next move. It was an incredible sensation, as if my brain had suddenly acquired a dedicated archery calculating program. When the fight ended, everyone looked at me differently. Chengyi walked over. You were really just an ordinary marksman before? I nodded. Before. Yes. He caught the implication. Before? I didn't elaborate. He gave me a long look and didn't ask further, but his attitude had clearly shifted from suspicion to acknowledgement. Han Lai sidled up and murmured, "Those shots just now were over the top." "In what way?" "The old you could never have made them." I smiled. "Maybe people break through their limits when they're in danger." Han Lai snorted. "That excuse sounds so fake." I said nothing, because only I knew the real reason. We pushed on and finally picked up the research team's signal from an abandoned research base. Inside, we found no signs of attack. Instead, it looked like a deliberate evacuation. Documents still on the tables, equipment still running, even a half-cold cup of coffee. Chengyi scanned the area. Strange. If they were in danger, they wouldn't have left so neatly. Han Lai frowned. Maybe someone took them? Then my gaze landed on a scratch on the wall. Not ordinary damage. It looked like a message left with a weapon. I walked closer and studied it. Only a few words. Asterisk do not trust the base. Asterisk everyone fell silent. Chengyi's face changed for the first time. Withdraw. I looked at him. Now? Yes. His voice was grave. This is more complicated than we thought. But just as we turned to leave, the base's main door slammed shut. A heavy metal seal. Han Lai rushed over. It won't open. Chengyi tried his comms. No signal. In that moment, we all knew. This wasn't an accident. Someone had deliberately trapped us here. From the darkness came slow, steady footsteps, as if they'd been waiting for us. I gripped my bow. Arrow already knocked. A man stepped out of the shadows, smiling. Finally, we meet. Chengyi saw him, and his face went pale. Wei Tianzi. The man laughed. So you still remember me? My eyes fixed on him. I'd never heard that name before, but from the moment he appeared, I felt danger. Wei Tianzi looked at me, specifically. At my bow. Chengyi. I've been waiting for you a long time. My heart sank. He knew me, and he knew I existed. Wei Tianzi spoke slowly. You must be curious why your ability appeared, and why your arrows can grow infinitely. Because all of this, it was always ours. In that moment, I realized for the first time, my ability was not an accident. It was part of a plan that had already begun. Wei Tianzi's words plunged the research base into a brief silence. I held my bow and didn't reply immediately, because from the instant he appeared, I knew we were beyond my expectations. My ability hadn't just popped up, someone knew about it. Someone had been waiting for me. That meant what I thought was luck might only be a move in someone else's game. Who the hell are you? I demanded. Wei Tianzi smiled. That question doesn't matter. What matters is that you understand how precious what you have really is. Han Lai stepped in front of me. Cut the crap. You locked us in here. What do you want? Wei Tianzi glanced at Han Lai. You're still the same, always protecting others. Han Lai's expression shifted. You know me? Wei Tianzi didn't answer. He kept his eyes on me. Chengyi, do you know why your ability can only be used by you? I stayed silent. Because it's not bound to your bow. It's bound to your body. more precisely, to your growth potential. I frowned. What do you mean? Wei Tianzi stepped closer. There are certain special people in this world, people with potential that ordinary minds can't grasp. Some can control fire. Some can reinforce their bodies. Some have superhuman perception. And you have infinite growth. My heart jolted. So I wasn't the only special one. I'd thought I'd just stumbled onto a weird ability. But now it seemed the world had far bigger secrets. Qingyi suddenly spoke. Wei Tianzi, you're still messing with those experiments. Wei Tianzi turned to him. So, you think those studies are meaningless? Qingyi clenched his fists. How many people have you killed in your pursuit of power? The air turned cold. I looked at Qingyi, for the first time. This calm man showed real emotion. Wei Tianzi merely smiled faintly. Sacrifice is necessary. Every breakthrough has its price. Without failures, there are no successes, Han Lai said coldly. You treat human lives like experiment materials? Wei Tianzi didn't deny it. The weak are the resources that drive the strong forward. Hearing that, I felt murderous intent stir for the first time. I used to avoid trouble. I just wanted to survive. Make money, get stronger, protect the people close to me. But this man regarded lives as nothing more than numbers. If he kept existing, more people would suffer. So, I said, you trapped us here to study me? Wei Tianzi nodded. More precisely, I want you to join me. I blinked. Join you? Yes. He looked at me. You should understand, your ability, as it grows, will reach an unimaginable level. But if you fumble around on your own, you'll waste a lot of time. Join me, and I'll give you resources, better training, even help you break past your current limits. His offer was tempting. The old me might have been swayed, because the old me desperately wanted strength, wanted to shed the label of ordinary. But now, looking at him, I only felt danger. What if the price is obeying your orders? Wei Tianzi laughed. Between strong people, there are no orders, only cooperation. I shook my head. You're wrong. True cooperation isn't built on deception and sacrificing others. His smile faded. You still don't understand your place. Those with power make the rules. I drew my bow and aimed at him. Then I'll make my own rules. The next second, two of Wei Tianzi's men moved at inhuman speed. One charged Han Lai. The other struck at Qingyi. Battle exploded. I didn't attack Wei Tianzi right away, because I noticed something. It was too quiet. If he really wanted to kill us, he wouldn't waste so many words. He had another purpose. Sure enough, as I was thinking, Wei Tianzi pressed a button on his device. Alarms blared inside the base. Metal panels slid open on the wall, revealing a huge cultivation chamber. Inside lay a mutant creature unlike any I'd seen, armored, several times larger than the intermediate beast we'd fought. This, Han Lai froze. Wei Tianzi said, this is my greatest success. It has exceptional learning ability. In other words, he looked at me. It can copy your archery. My heart seized. Copy my archery? Impossible. But the next moment, the creature opened its eyes. It looked at my bow. Then it mimicked my motion, raising its claws as if drawing a bowstring. It had no bow, but the gesture was exactly like mine. Cheng Ye's face turned ashen. Qingyi, don't let it keep watching you. I understood immediately. This thing wasn't an ordinary monster, it was learning. And it was learning from me. Without hesitation, I loosed an arrow. It pierced the chamber glass and hit the creature's shoulder. But then, it glanced down at the wound, then extended a bone spike from its body and, mimicking the arrow's trajectory, shot it at me. I dodged sideways. The spike grazed my shoulder, drawing blood. This was the first time I'd faced an enemy that could keep up with my growth. My advantage was infinite improvement, but now someone had created a monster that could learn from me. Wei Tianzi stood in the distance, voice calm. Qingyi, let me see, can your infinite growth defeat something that learns infinitely as well? I looked at the monster, slowly gripping my bow. The pain made me sharper. This fight wasn't about proving I was stronger than anyone. It was about telling everyone that my power would never become anyone's experiment. I took a deep breath and knocked another arrow. If it could learn, then I'd make sure it couldn't learn everything, because my arrows had no ceiling. And it was only a copy. The creature watched me. It didn't attack immediately, it observed my breathing, my movements, even the force of my grip. In that moment, I understood why Wei Tianzi called it his greatest success. It didn't fight with raw strength alone, it learned, analyzed, mimicked, and it did so frighteningly fast. Qingyi, Look out! Han Lai shouted. I twisted sideways, and a bone spike zipped past my face, punching through the wall. If I'd been half a second slower, I'd have been down. I retreated a few steps. Blood kept flowing from my shoulder wound, but my mind grew clearer. The more dangerous the situation, the more I felt my own change. Before, my first instinct would have been fear. Now, I started analyzing enemy attack patterns, power source, movement speed, weak points. This was what infinite experience gave me, not just better archery, but the mind of a true fighter. It's adapting to you, Cheng Yi said grimly. Every attack, it collects data. I nodded. So I can't repeat myself. Cheng Yi looked puzzled. What do you mean? I stared at the monster. If it can learn, I won't give it a complete pattern to learn. I shot an arrow, not at the monster, but at the control device behind it. The arrow hit dead on. The chamber screamed with alarms. The monster faltered for a split second. I seized the opening and loosed a second arrow, striking its leg joint. It lost balance and crashed down. It worked, Han Lai shouted. But I didn't relax. I knew it couldn't be that simple. The monster twisted its body in an unnatural way, rose again, pulled the arrow from its leg, and studied it. Then it began adjusting its own stance, learning not just my shots, but my combat thinking. Wei Tianzi watched with excitement in his eyes. You see? That's true evolution. What ordinary life takes countless years to achieve, it does in minutes. I stared at him. You think you've created a perfect life form? Wei Tianzi smiled. Isn't it? I shook my head. No. You've only made a soulless tool. His smile flickered. I continued. A true strong person doesn't copy others. They find their own path through constant growth. With that, I drew my bow again. This time, I didn't rush to attack. I closed my eyes and felt everything around me. Wind, distance, sound, even the movement of air. In my old training, stability was everything. But after infinite experience awakened, my archery had already gone beyond what I used to understand. Now I needed to create my own way. The next second, I released the string. The arrow didn't fly toward the monster. It shot upward into the air. Everyone froze. Han Lai blurted. Cheng Yi, you missed? No. I didn't answer. Because I knew the real target wasn't the monster. It was the monster's ability to predict attack trajectories. The arrow arced, struck a metal plate on the wall, rebounded, and came from a completely unpredictable angle to hit the monster's nape. It hadn't anticipated it. It hadn't had time to learn. The arrow pierced through. The monster let out its first pained cry. The experience prompt sounded in my mind. Asterisk target hit. Asterisk experience gained. Asterisk archery rank increased. Asterisk a new surge of power flowed into me. My perception sharpened once more. And in that moment, I noticed a detail I'd missed before. This monster could learn, but only from what had already happened. It couldn't predict the future, but my arrows could keep creating new possibilities. I followed up with several more shots, each with a different trajectory. Some from the front, some from the side, some bouncing off the environment. The monster grew confused. For the first time, it couldn't copy, because it was no longer facing a fixed technique. It was facing an archer who was constantly evolving. That's impossible. Wei Tianzi lost his composure. It should be able to adapt. I looked at him. You forgot one thing. What? My growth has no end. For the final shot, I aimed at the monster's chest, where a strange crystal was embedded. It had been protecting that spot throughout the fight. That was its core. The arrow flew, too fast for the eye to track. The monster tried to mimic, but it was too late. The arrow broke through its defenses and shattered the crystal. The massive body crashed down. The base fell silent. Wei Tianzi's smile was completely gone. For the first time, he looked at me with wariness. Do you have any idea what you just did? I lowered my bow. I took down a monster. No. He shook his head. You proved that your growth rate exceeds our predictions. I frowned. Our? Wei Tianzi didn't continue. He turned and walked toward the exit. Han Lai moved to chase him, but Cheng Yi held him back. Don't. Han Lai looked at him. Why not? Cheng Yi's face was grim. He wanted us to see all of this on purpose. What do you mean? Meaning, Cheng Yi looked toward the exit. This isn't his real lab. It's just a place he left for Cheng Yi to see. My stomach dropped. If an entire experimental base was only a test for me, then how massive was the organization behind Wei Tianzi? After leaving the base, we managed to bring back some research data. Back in the safe zone, Everyone started digging into Wei Tianzi's background, but strangely, information about him was almost non-existent, as if someone had deliberately erased it. That night, I sat alone on the training ground, staring at my ability interface. Experience kept accumulating. Archery kept improving, but my feelings weren't as simple as before, because I now understood. The stronger you get, the stronger your enemies become, and Wei Tianzi was only the beginning. The next day, a stranger woman found me. She wore plain clothes, but her eyes were razor sharp. Xinyi, she said my name. I watched her warily. Who are you? She didn't answer directly. Instead, she handed me a file. Someone wants you dead. I opened it. Inside was a photo of me. Underneath, a line, asterisk target confirmed. Holder of infinite growth ability. Asterisk. Seeing that, I finally knew. My secret was out, and the real war had only just begun. I stared at those words on the file for a long time. Holder of infinite growth ability, a few short words. Yet they had sliced open the quiet life I'd known before. I thought the biggest trouble was mutant beasts. Then I realized the real danger came from those who controlled resources and secrets. Now I understood. Having power itself was a problem. Who exactly are you? I closed the file and looked at the woman. She showed no hostility, but I could tell she was studying me. Su Qinyao. She answered simply. I'm an analyst for the Ability Research Department. I frowned. Research Department? Connected to Wei Tianzi? At that name, her eyes shifted slightly. You've met him? Yes. He's still alive? I studied her. What do you mean? Su Qinyao didn't answer right away. She walked to the edge of the training ground, checked the area, then lowered her voice. Wei Tianzi was once a key protege of the Alliance. He had enormous research talent. But then he started dabbling in forbidden fields: human enhancement, ability replication, genetic modification. Eventually, he was expelled. I thought of the monster in that lab. So he created all of that? She nodded. Part of it. There's more. My brow furrowed deeper. Why are you telling me all this? She met my gaze. Because you're the only person who has successfully awakened the infinite growth ability. And you're the only one who might be able to stop him. I laughed dryly. Aren't you overestimating me? I'm just a guy who shoots arrows. She shook her head. You're wrong. Your ability isn't arrows. The arrow is just a medium. What's truly terrifying is that you can improve through repetition. That means, given enough time, your growth has no limit. I looked down at my bow. Before, I'd only seen the ability as convenient. Shoot, gain experience, grow stronger. But now, for the first time, I realized it might represent a force that completely broke all rules. So someone wants me dead? Su Qinyao nodded. More precisely, someone wants to control you. If they can't control you, they'll destroy you. I looked at her. Including you? She blinked, then smiled. You're sharper than the file says. What does the file say about me? An ordinary person. She paused. But obviously, the file is wrong. I didn't pursue that. What do you want from me? She was silent for a moment. Cooperation. I need your help. I eyed her. You need my help? Yes. Aren't you from a research department? Research and combat are two different things. She went on. We've discovered that Wei Tianzi is looking for something, a special core crystal. My attention sharpened. Does it have to do with my ability? Yes. According to our data, that crystal once belonged to the first generation of ability awakeners, and your ability is likely connected to it. I fell into thought. Before, I wouldn't have believed such things, but after Wei Tianzi's lab, I knew the world held many unknowns. Where is it? Su Qinyao pulled out a map. Level 3 of the danger zone. I looked. That was the least explored area. Far more dangerous than our previous missions. You want me to retrieve it? Not retrieve. Prevent Wei Tianzi from getting it. I smiled wryly. You think I can do that? Not right now. Maybe, she said honestly. But if you keep growing, yes. That surprised me. She wasn't blindly flattering me. She was analyzing facts. The next day, I decided to accept the cooperation. Han Lai was the first to object. Xinyi, are you insane? We just escaped Wei Tianzi. And now you're walking right toward his goal again? I looked at him. If I keep running, the problem won't go away. Han Lai fell silent. Then he sighed. I know. Once you've decided, I can't talk you out of it. But I'm coming with you. I turned to him. This is very dangerous. I know. He smiled. Before, you protected me. Now it's my turn. That caught me off guard. We'd been friends for years. I'd always thought of myself as the one being protected. But now, the people around me were starting to believe in me, and that felt strange and wonderful. Before we left, Qingyi also joined the team. I was surprised. You too? He nodded. I have to settle things with Wei Tianzi. Why? He was quiet for a while. Because I was once his test subject too. It was the first time he'd spoken of his past. Years ago, he had participated in ability enhancement experiments, but when he discovered the experiments were flawed, he escaped. Wei Tianzi had always regarded him as a failure. So you've been hunting him? Yes. Qingyi looked into the distance. Over the years, I've seen too many people lose everything because of his experiments. I don't want to see it happen again. Our team was set. Me, Han Lai, Su Qingyao, and Qingyi. Target, Level 3 Danger Zone. On the day of departure, Qin Haoran unexpectedly found me. He stood at the base entrance with a complicated expression. You're going to Level 3? I nodded. Word travels fast. He ignored my sarcasm. That's not a place you should be going right now. I looked at him. Are you worried about me? His face stiffened. Don't misunderstand. It's just that if you die there, I'll lose the person I want to surpass. I laughed. So you're afraid of losing your target? He snorted and tossed me an equipment case. Take it. I opened it. Inside were special arrowheads. These are high penetration tips, he said. I've tested them before. They work well. I looked at him. Why give them to me? He turned away. Because I want to see where your limit really is. Then he left. I looked at the arrowheads and felt, for the first time, that even my old rival had begun to recognize me. A few hours later, we entered Level 3. The moment I stepped in, my ability interface changed. Asterisk special environment detected. Asterisk experience gain efficiency increased. Asterisk I froze. Su Qingyao noticed my expression. What's wrong? I looked ahead, into the depths of the danger zone. A sensation I'd never felt before washed over me. This place seemed to be waiting for me, and my infinite experience ability was showing its first new change. Once we entered Level 3, I felt my ability actively shifting. Before, it was simple. Shoot an arrow. Hit a target. Gain experience. Clear. Simple. Unchanging. But now, as soon as I set foot in this zone, my interface displayed new notifications. Asterisk special energy environment detected. Asterisk experience gain efficiency increased. Asterisk hidden growth mode activated. Asterisk I stopped walking. Qingyi? Su Qingyao noticed. Did you find something? I glanced at her, didn't reveal everything about my ability, and said, this place might be connected to my power. Her eyes sharpened. I knew it. You feel it too? I frowned. What do you mean? She pulled out a detection device. Ever since we entered Level 3, the readings have been fluctuating wildly. The energy here is much higher than other zones. Qingyi scanned our surroundings. That means Wei Tianzi didn't choose this place randomly. He knew something special was here. Han Lai tightened his grip on his weapon. Then we need to be even more careful. He clapped my shoulder. Don't get cocky just because your ability is improving. I smiled. Relax. I know better than anyone what death feels like. We pressed on. Level 3 was far more dangerous than before. The mutants here were much smarter. They didn't attack recklessly. They watched from the shadows, waiting for an opening. After less than half an hour, I suddenly stopped. Hold on. Everyone halted immediately. Qingyi looked at me. What did you spot? I closed my eyes. The surroundings were quiet, but my perception was now much stronger. I could hear tiny sounds from far away, leaves shifting, rocks scraping, and breathing. More than one. Something is following us. Han Lai spun around. Where? I raised my bow. Didn't fire, but pointed to the right. There. The next second, a dark shape burst out of the brush at incredible speed, too fast for normal eyes. But in my sight, its movement was clear. I drew and released. Hit. The shadow tumbled to the ground, a giant mutant wolf. But strangely, it didn't keep attacking. Instead, it stared at me fixedly, as if evaluating something. It's observing you, Su Qingyao said. I nodded. It's not here to attack. It's testing me. Qingya's face tightened. Are the creatures here all starting to show this kind of behavior? As he spoke, more footsteps emerged. From all sides, over a dozen mutant wolves surrounded us. They didn't pounce immediately. They formed a circle. That had never happened before. Han Lai muttered. They coordinate? I gripped my bow. Looks like the rules are different in level 3. Before, I might have chosen to retreat against a dozen mutants. But now I didn't, because my ability told me these were all experience points. And here, the gain was higher. I took a deep breath. First arrow. Hit. Experience gained. Second. Hit. Third. Fourth. My movements grew faster. What used to require aiming had become instinct. Arrows seemed to grow eyes, weaving through the trees. With every hit, my skill increased. But the wolves were adapting too. They started dodging, predicting my attacks, even altering their movement patterns. They have strong learning ability, Su Qingyao said. I didn't reply, because I realized this was my chance. The stronger the enemy, the more experience I gained. What infinite growth needed most was challenge. When the last wolf fell, my interface updated. Asterisk experience accumulated to threshold. Asterisk. Asterisk archery ability enhanced. Asterisk asterisk new ability unlocked. Trajectory perception. Asterisk I blinked. Trajectory perception? In the next instant, a flood of information entered my mind. I could now not only judge the present, I could predict the target's short-term movement path. That meant I could know an enemy's next move before they made it. Han Lai stared at me. Did you get stronger again? I didn't deny it. Yes. He gave a rueful laugh. At this rate, how is anyone else supposed to compete? I smiled. That's why I have to face even stronger enemies. We continued deeper. Hours later, we found a hidden base, different from Wei Tianzi's lab. This one had been abandoned for years, but it held a massive trove of documents. Su Qingyao started going through them. Soon, her face changed. Found it. I went over. What? She pointed at the records. Data on the infinite growth ability. My heart raced. Finally, I was one step closer to the truth about myself. The documents showed that infinite growth wasn't a natural occurrence. It came from a special energy source called the Source Core. The Source Core could activate human potential, but the success rate was extremely low. Most test subjects died, and I was the only stable awakened case. Han Lai frowned. So Xingyi was created by an experiment? Su Qingyao shook her head. No. It says here, she paused. Her expression complex. Xingyi wasn't made in a lab. He is a natural awakener. I breathed a little easier, but then she continued, and my tension spiked again. However, it also says that natural awakeners become the ultimate fusion candidates for the Source Core. I looked at her. What does that mean? She was quiet for a moment. It means that when your ability grows to a certain level, you will attract everyone who wields Source Core power. They will want to claim you. The air went still. I finally understood why Wei Tianzi was so obsessed. Why people wanted to capture me. Not because of how strong I was now, but because my future represented unimaginable power. Just then, from deep inside the base, came the sound of clapping. Clap, clap, clap. We all spun around. A man stepped out of the shadows. Not Wei Tianzi, but I recognized him. Qin Haoran. How did you get here? Han Lai demanded warily. Qin Haoran didn't answer. He looked only at me. Xingyi. Now I finally understand why you grow so fast. My hand slowly tightened on my bow. You followed us? He shook his head. No. I was sent. By whom? He paused for a second. Wei Tianzi. Everyone's expression changed. Qin Haoran continued. He told me to give you a message, he said. The more you know now, the sooner you'll die. I stared at him. Why are you telling me this? He looked back at me. Eyes complicated. Because I want to know one thing. If everyone in this world wants to use your power, can you still stay the person you are? I didn't answer, because I suddenly realized that the real test might have only just begun. Qin Haoran stood in the middle of the abandoned base, unarmed, but his presence instantly tensed the entire team. Han Lai moved in front of me. You'd better explain yourself. Qin Haoran glanced at him. If I were here to capture Xingyi, do you think he'd still be standing there? Han Lai didn't respond, but his hand stayed on his weapon. I looked at Qin Haoran. When did you get involved with Wei Tianzi? He was quiet for a moment. From the day I joined the ability training camp. That surprised me. You're an ability user too? He nodded. My ability isn't talent, it's enhancement. Physical enhancement. He clenched his fist, and a faint crackling sound came from the air. I never knew that the genius archer who'd always competed with me possessed special power. Why didn't you use it before? I asked. He smiled. Because there was no need. In everyone else's eyes, I was already strong enough. Until I met you. His eyes were complicated, not jealous. Not angry. More like unwillingness. Shinyi, do you know what I can't accept the most? I looked at him. What? I trained for over a decade. Went through life and death countless times. All to get where I am. But you, in just a few days, surpassed what many spend decades achieving. He looked down. At first, I was bitter. I even thought you were just lucky. But later, he glanced at the mutant wolf corpses on the ground. I realized I was wrong. You're not strong because of luck. You're strong because you truly fight with everything. I hadn't expected him to say that. In my impression, he was always the proud prodigy who never acknowledged anyone else. So, I asked, why are you standing here now? He met my eyes. To help you, Han Lai sneered. Help us? You just said Wei Tianzi sent you. Qin Haoren nodded. Yes, he sent me. But that doesn't mean I have to obey him. That made me understand. Qin Haoren was struggling too. He wasn't Wei Tianzi's man. He'd only had ties to him. Su Qingyao suddenly spoke up from beside the documents. Qin Haoren. Do you know Wei Tianzi's true plan? His expression flickered. What do you know? She held up a paper. He doesn't want to acquire the source core. He wants to create a second Xinyi. Qin Haoren fell silent. He did know something. Tell us, Su Qingyao pressed. Otherwise, you'll be the next one used. He clenched his fists. After a long pause, he said, Wei Tianzi is looking for a special device that can replicate ability cores. My brows drew together. Replicate my ability? More precisely, replicate your growth mechanism. He believes that if he can create a large number of humans with infinite growth, he can build a whole new world. Han Lai said coldly. He talks about building. Actually, he just wants to create an army of monsters that obey him. Qin Haoren didn't deny it. He knew Han Lai was right. I looked at the documents and spotted a name. Project Source. Below it was a record. Asterisk subject. Xinyi. Asterisk my hand stopped. What is this? Su Qingyao came over. When she saw it, her face changed too. That's impossible. I looked at her. You know about it? She shook her head. No. But the date on this record, she pointed. It's before you were born. Silence. My heart pounded. Before I was born? That meant someone had known of my existence before I even existed. What did that mean? All my life I thought I was just an ordinary person. Ordinary parents. Ordinary life. Ordinary fate. But now every clue pointed to a secret hidden inside me. One I didn't know. Qin Haoren looked at me. You really didn't know? I shook my head. If I did, I wouldn't be asking you. He was quiet. Then said, Wei Tianzi once said, you weren't the first one observed. But you're the first one to successfully awaken. I gripped my fist. Who else was there? He didn't answer, because at that moment, the whole base shook violently. Lights flickered. Alarms blared. Su Qingyao checked the equipment. Someone activated the base defense system. Cheng Ye's face darkened. It's not us. Then a voice came over the intercom. Xinyi, you finally made it here. I recognized it. Wei Tianzi, you've been watching us? My voice went cold. He laughed. Of course. Did you think entering level 3 was luck? From the moment you fired that first special arrow, everything has been part of the plan. My fist tightened. What do you really want? He didn't answer directly. Xinyi, have you ever wondered why your ability chose you? I stayed silent. It was the question I kept asking. Because, he paused, you aren't an awakener. You are the key. My expression shifted. Key to what? Key to unlocking the true power of the source core. That stunned everyone. Su Qingyao frantically flipped through the documents. What he's saying can't be. Wei Tianzi continued. Xinyi, do you think infinite experience is a reward? Wrong. It's a guide. It pushes you to grow. Until you meet the fusion conditions. I glared at the speaker. Fusion with what? His voice dropped. Fusion with the source core. To become the first true perfect life form on this planet. Han Lai shouted. Stop lying. Wei Tianzi ignored him. Xinyi, you can keep resisting. Keep growing. But in the end, you'll realize, every step you take is the step I wanted you to take. The intercom went dead. The base fell back into silence. No one spoke for a long time. Finally, Han Lai looked at me. Do you believe him? I didn't answer, because I didn't know. But one thing I was sure of. Ever since I gained infinite experience, my life could never go back. If someone wanted to decide my future, then I would walk a path they couldn't predict. I looked at my bow and said, we keep going. Qin Haoren blinked. Keep going? I nodded. Yes. Since they want me to grow, I'll grow beyond their control. Su Qingyao looked at me then, not with analysis or doubt, but with recognition. And just as we were about to leave the base, my ability interface appeared again. Asterisk unknown restriction detected. Asterisk unlock condition. Defeat a true threat. Asterisk hidden ability will be unlocked. Asterisk I stared at those words and felt for the first time that the secret of infinite experience might be far bigger than I'd imagined. And what lay ahead wasn't just Wei Tianzi, but a truth hidden behind everyone. After leaving the abandoned base, we didn't return to the safe zone immediately, because everyone knew that going back now would only bring danger to more people. Wei Tianzi already had our movements mapped. He might even have intelligence on the whole base. If we kept following the same patterns, we would forever be dancing on his strings. Let's find a safe spot first, Qingyi said, looking at the map. We need to reorganize the information. Han Lai nodded. Agreed. I didn't speak. All the way, I kept thinking about what Wei Tianzi had said. Key, fusion, perfect life form. Those words echoed in my head. If he was telling the truth, then my ability was never just meant to make me stronger. It might hide a purpose. But one thing I couldn't figure out. If someone really wanted to use me, why give me unlimited growth? Wouldn't it be simpler to control me directly? What are you thinking? Su Qingyao walked up beside me. I glanced at her. How much of what Wei Tianzi said do you think is true? She was quiet for a moment. 50%. That surprised me. That high? She nodded. Wei Tianzi is dangerous. But he's not the type to invent stories for no reason. He usually speaks from some evidence. He just hides the most critical parts. I frowned. So what he says may be true, but his purpose may not be. Exactly. She looked ahead. A person might tell you facts, but that doesn't mean they want you to have the truth. I kept that in mind, because everyone I'd met during this time had their own agenda. Wei Tianzi wanted to use me. Su Qingyao needed my strength. Even Qin Haoran had his own convictions. Only Han Lai. He seemed to have been standing beside me from the very beginning, without any hidden motive. I turned to Han Lai. Why do you keep following me? He blinked. What? I mean, from the start I was just an ordinary marksman. You knew I was in danger. Yet you kept helping me. He laughed. Because you're my friend. That simple? What else? He patted my shoulder. Qingyi, you can't calculate everything in life. If you can't trust the people beside you, then what's the point of getting stronger? Those words made me pause. In the past, I'd always thought strength was everything. If I was strong enough, no one could hurt me. But now I realized that what really kept me going wasn't ability. It was the people willing to walk with me. After a night's rest, we decided to return to level 2, because Su Qingyao had found a crucial lead. There wasn't just one source core. Wei Tianzi only controlled part of it. To truly understand my ability, we had to find another source core. Why not go straight after Wei Tianzi? Qin Haoran asked. Su Qingyao shook her head. We're not strong enough to face him yet. His experimental forces are too powerful. And we don't know his full hand. Chengyi added. Most importantly, we need to figure out the origin of Xinye's ability first. I nodded. So we find the other source core first. Exactly. Level 2 went smoother than expected, because my power had grown. Many problems that were hard before were now easily handled. But the smoother things went, the more uneasy I felt. Until we reached an underground passage. I stopped. Someone has been here before. Qingyi looked at me. How do you know? I pointed at the ground. Footprints. But there's a lot of dust here. Han Lai glanced down. I don't see anything. I shook my head. Not by sight, by feeling. Ever since I'd gained trajectory perception, my awareness of changes around me had heightened. Airflow, sound shifts, even residual traces, all became clues. Qingyi stared at me. Your improvement rate is beyond normal range. I didn't deny it. That's why we need to move faster. We followed the tunnel deeper and finally found a hidden chamber. In the center sat a metal box. Su Qingyao rushed to inspect it. This is it. She opened the box. Inside wasn't a weapon or documents. It was a transparent crystal. Unlike the fragmented source core shards in Wei Tianzi's lab, this one was far purer. As I approached, my ability suddenly reacted. Asterisk special item detected. Asterisk initiate fusion. Asterisk I froze. Fusion? Was this what Wei Tianzi called the source core? Su Qingyao saw my expression. What's wrong? I didn't answer immediately, because instinct told me that if I fused this crystal, my ability would undergo a massive change. But I didn't know what that change would bring. Xinyi, she said seriously. You have to decide for yourself. No one can take the consequences for you. I looked at the crystal, then reached out. The moment my finger touched it, the entire underground space trembled. A torrent of information flooded my mind, past, future, and images I couldn't fully grasp. I saw a laboratory. A man stood outside the glass, saying, "If this child awakens successfully, humanity will enter a new era." I couldn't see his face, but his voice was familiar. Then the scene changed. A woman held a baby and said to someone beside her, "Don't let them find him. He's just a child." My breath stopped, because that baby was me. Suddenly, a voice sounded in my head. Asterisk hidden memory unlocked. Asterisk asterisk identity information updated. Asterisk asterisk host permissions raised. Asterisk asterisk infinite experience phase 2 activated. Asterisk I snapped my eyes open. The crystal had vanished, and my ability interface had changed. Before, it only showed experience points. Now, there was an additional line. Growth path. Below it, asterisk true growth is not copying power, it is creating your own rules. Asterisk I stood there, unable to speak for a long time. Han Lai came over. Xinyi? I lifted my head. I might know some things now. Su Qingyao asked. What? I looked at her. I wasn't chosen. I wasn't manufactured. I may be. I paused, because the answer was too incredible. I may be a future that someone deliberately left behind. Everyone fell silent. Then gunfire erupted from outside. We snapped into alert. Qingyi rushed to the entrance. His face went white. Someone's coming. I gripped my bow. In the distance, a group of fully armed soldiers appeared. At their head was Wei Tianzi, but this time, there was someone beside him. When Qin Haoran saw that face, his body went rigid. Why you? I looked at that man, and then I, too, froze, because he bore a resemblance to me. Wei Tianzi smiled. Xinyi, allow me to introduce you. This is your other possibility, and the first person to truly complete the experiment. When I saw that man who looked somewhat like me, my first reaction wasn't shock, it was disbelief. How could there be another person in this world so similar to me? Not identical in appearance, but the feeling, his eyes, his bearing, even the pressure he exerted just by standing there, all of it gave me a strange familiarity. Who is he? My voice dropped. Wei Tianzi smiled. Haven't you already guessed? I didn't answer, because I didn't want to believe it. He's also part of Project Source, Wei Tianzi said slowly. Even earlier than you. Beside me. Qin Haoran's expression was ugly. Qing Mo. I turned to him. You know him? He nodded, but his face was complicated. He used to be the strongest in the training camp, and the first person believed to have successfully awakened. I looked at the man. Why have I never heard of him? Qin Haoran paused. Because he disappeared. All his records were deleted. Wei Tianzi cut in. Not deleted, hidden, because his existence proved a fact. Infinite growth has happened before. My heart sank. I had always believed I was unique, but in truth, someone had walked this path years ago. What's his name? I asked. The man answered himself. Qing Mo. His voice was calm, no hostility, no emotion, like a man without warmth. Xinyi, he said, I know you. I met his gaze. What do you know about me? Qing Mo looked at my bow. I know why you can grow, why you awakened. And also, he paused, what you will eventually become. Han Lai stepped in front of me. Enough with the riddles. What do you two really want? Wei Tianzi laughed. Simple. To fuse the two successful samples. My face changed. Fuse? Yes. You and Qing Mo. One represents natural growth. The other represents artificial enhancement. Only by merging you both can we reach the final form. Han Lai shouted. You treat people as experiments? Wei Tianzi ignored him. History is always driven by the strong. The process doesn't matter. I stared at him. You're wrong. He looked at me. Wrong about what? The process matters. Because if a person is willing to sacrifice others for some supposed future, then whatever future he creates is meaningless. Wei Tianzi shook his head. You're still naive. Power will change your mind. When you stand at the top, you'll understand me. I didn't answer, because I knew that some people would never understand. Not everyone pursues power to dominate others. Just then, Qing Mo spoke. Wei Tianzi. Everyone turned to him. This was the first time he'd spoken on his own. Enough. Wei Tianzi frowned. What do you mean? Qing Mo looked at him. You lied to me. The air froze. Wei Tianzi's expression shifted. I gave you life. I gave you strength. Without me, you'd be dead. Cheng Mo shook his head. So you think I should obey you forever? Wei Tianzi went silent. I watched this unfold and suddenly understood. Although Cheng Mo was an experimental creation, he still had his own will. He wasn't a tool. What do you really want? I asked. Cheng Mo turned to me. I want to know, if someone has infinite growth ability but is never controlled by anyone else, what will they eventually become? That hit me. For the first time, I felt that Cheng Mo and I were not enemies, at least not now. Wei Tianzi realized the situation was turning against him and immediately gave the order. Capture them. Battle erupted. Wei Tianzi's men all charged. These weren't ordinary fighters. Their movements were synchronized, coordinated, clearly trained for this. Han Lai met them head-on. Qing Yi protected Su Qingyao, and I faced Cheng Mo. Everyone paused for a moment, because we all knew the real fight was between the two of us. Will you win? Cheng Mo asked. I gripped my bow. I don't know, but I'll try. He nodded. The next second, his body vanished, faster than I could track. I immediately activated trajectory perception, but to my shock, I couldn't fully predict his movements. Why? This had never happened before. Cheng Mo appeared behind me and threw a punch. I dodged, but the force still knocked me back. His power was greater than I'd imagined. Your ability leans toward growth, he said. Mine leans toward copying. So, the stronger you get, the more I understand you. I wiped the blood from my lip and finally understood why Wei Tianzi was so confident. Cheng Mo wasn't just strong, he was specifically designed to counter me. I shot an arrow. He sidestepped it. Then he mimicked my motion, grabbing a metal rod and making a stance like drawing a bow. Next second, metal shards flew out, with speed and angle eerily close to my archery. For the first time, I faced someone who could attack me using my own style. But I smiled. Cheng Mo frowned. Why are you smiling? Because I just realized something. What? I drew my bow again. You keep copying the past, but I keep creating the future. In quick succession, I shot 3 arrows. The first wasn't for damage. It forced him to shift his stance. The second cut off his escape. The third was the real strike. For the first time, Cheng Mo didn't fully evade. The arrow sliced his shoulder. The experience prompt rang. Asterisk target hit. Asterisk experience gained. Asterisk I felt my power rise again. Cheng Mo looked at his wound, and his eyes finally changed. You grew again. I nodded. Yes. So you'll never catch up. We kept clashing. Each exchange sharpened my archery, while his copying ability grew too. It was like a race without a finish line. Until finally, Cheng Mo stopped. Enough. I watched him warily. What? He said. Now I understand why they failed. Why all the other test subjects could never reach the final goal. Because they wanted to create a perfect life. But they forgot one thing. What makes life truly powerful isn't the absence of flaws. It's the ability to grow through them. I didn't speak, because I knew he finally understood. Just then, Wei Tianzi activated a device. The whole base shuddered. His voice came from afar. Since either of you wants to cooperate, I'll complete the fusion by force. Su Qingyao's face went pale. No! He's initiated the force fusion program. I looked toward the direction Wei Tianzi had disappeared. In that moment, I finally understood. His goal from the start had never been to persuade me. It was to force both me and Cheng Mo to become his experimental results. And now, the final battle had only just begun. The entire base shook violently. Metal fragments rained from above. Alarms shrieked. Red lights strobed, as if warning everyone that this place was about to become a death trap. Su Qingyao frantically checked the equipment. Her face grew grimmer. Wei Tianzi activated the source core fusion device. Han Lai slammed a fist on a control panel. What does that mean? She took a breath. It means he's going to forcibly extract the power from Xing Yi and Cheng Mo. If he succeeds, she paused, it will create a monster with both abilities. My gaze fixed on the distance. Wei Tianzi had never changed. He talked about creating a future, but in reality he only wanted to control everything. Where? I asked. Su Qingyao pointed to the deepest part of the base. The core lab. That's where the largest source energy device is. I gripped my bow. Let's go. Han Lai looked at me. Xing Yi. Yeah? This time. Don't carry it all alone. I blinked, then nodded. Okay. It was the first time I didn't choose to face everything by myself. Because I finally understood. True strength wasn't solving every problem alone. It was having people who would fight beside you. We raced toward the core lab. Along the way, Wei Tianzi's guards kept coming, but we were different from the beginning now. Han Lai used his enhanced body to block attacks head-on. Qing Yi exploited his experience to neutralize enemy weak points. Qin Haoren joined the fray, his physical enhancement at full blast, each blow several times stronger than before. I stood behind them, arrows flying continuously, each one hitting its mark. Experience piled up. Ability grew. But this time, I didn't lose myself in the gains, because I knew the priority wasn't improving myself, but stopping Wei Tianzi. At last, we reached the core lab. In the center of the massive installation stood Wei Tianzi. Behind him loomed an enormous source core, and the energy data from my fight with Cheng Mo was streaming into it. You're finally here, Wei Tianzi said. Qin Yi, do you know how long I've been working on this plan? I didn't answer. Decades. Since the moment I first discovered the source core. I knew humanity's future shouldn't depend on luck, it should be controlled. I looked at him. So you sacrificed countless lives? He said calmly. History won't remember the sacrificed, only the creators. I shook my head. You're wrong. The people who truly change the world don't need to step on corpses to prove themselves. Wei Tianzi laughed. You're still too young. You have power. Yet you don't understand what power means. He activated the device. A massive energy surge erupted. Cheng Mo grunted. His body started to show anomalies. I rushed toward him. But an energy barrier blocked me. It's useless, Wei Tianzi said. This was designed specifically for your abilities. The stronger you are, the more it affects you. I watched Cheng Mo. His body was under immense strain, but his eyes remained calm. Qin Yi, he said, don't save me. I froze. What do you mean? If the device keeps running, it will pull you in too. I didn't retreat. So what? He looked at me. Why must you save me? I paused, then said, because you're not an experiment. You're a person. At that moment, Cheng Mo's eyes truly changed for the first time. He said softly, so that's it. That's what I never had. Suddenly he turned and charged straight at the device. Cheng Mo! Everyone shouted in shock. He didn't attack us. He smashed the control core with his fist. The whole lab erupted into chaos. Wei Tianzi's face twisted. What are you doing? Cheng Mo looked at him. Ending your experiment. You created me, but you never treated me as human, so I no longer belong to you. The device went haywire. Energy began to spread wildly. I knew that if this continued, everyone here would die. I raised my bow. A new prompt appeared in my mind. Asterisk ultimate threat detected. Asterisk hidden ability unlocked. Asterisk infinite arrow domain. Asterisk in that instant, my consciousness shifted. Before, my arrows could only affect individual targets. Now, my arrows could influence an area. I drew the bowstring and released, not at any one target, but at the center of the energy. As the arrow flew, time seemed to stop. All the spreading energy was drawn along the arrow's path, converging, until it all poured back into the source core. Boom! A deafening explosion. The device shut down. The lab fell silent. I stood there, the bow in my hands now cracked. But I knew that one arrow had changed many things. Wei Tianzi collapsed on the ground. He looked at me. His expression one I'd never seen before. Why? Why wasn't your ability controlled? I looked back at him. Because you always believed that power belonged to rules. But true power belongs to the person who wields it. Wei Tianzi said nothing more. Cheng Yi took him into custody. After it was over, we left the base. The Alliance began investigating Project Source, and the hidden records of years of experiments were finally made public. Many people learned for the first time that behind this world lay such a battle over power, and I kept holding my bow. Moving forward, later, someone asked me if I could choose again. Would I still accept the ability that made me stronger with every shot? My answer was simple. Yes. But not because it made me strong. Because it taught me that what truly defines a person's height is never how much power they possess, but what they choose to become once they have it. Years later, a new training base was built. Many young archers came there. They had heard my story. One asked, Senior Qin Yi, why does your arrow never stop flying? I looked into the distance and smiled. Because growth has no end. As long as you're willing to move forward, the next arrow will always be stronger than the last. The wind swept across the training ground. I drew my bow again. The arrow left the string, and flew toward a farther future. And my story had only just begun.